Welcome to the second episode of Technically Bitcoin. My name is Jan. I'm the CSO at Xverse, and I'm the Ordinal DGen. And I'm here with Tyler, the sorcerer.
The sorcerer. Yeah, I work at Taproot Wizards. We're doing a little magic. I'm super excited today to talk with y'all about ordinals and inscriptions. I think it's a really fun topic that a lot of people are probably very exposed to financially, but I think a little underexposed to technically.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. And obviously, if you guys haven't checked our first episode, which we released about 2 weeks ago, I will link it below in the description. Please go ahead and check it out because we talked about UTXOs. And I think that knowledge is obviously very important for this second episode. And ultimately, what we're doing here with Tyler, we're really trying to go under the hood of how Bitcoin works. I would say even demystify some of these technical concepts that you get in touch with every single time you do something with Bitcoin, you do something with ordinals. Today, we're talking about ordinals and inscriptions.
So I think the overall agenda today, I want to talk briefly about what the Ordinals Protocol is. We'll talk about SAT indexing and SAT tracking. This is very critical for the Ordinals Protocol. And then the second fun part of the Ordinals Protocol, which is inscriptions, which is how we get all of our beautiful digital artifacts sitting in our wallets today.
Tyler, do you want to tell us a little bit more what this Ordinals Protocol is all about?
It's very simple and very complex at the same time, so we're going to try and demystify it tonight. Ultimately, what it does is the Ordinals Protocol defines a system for indexing and tracking every Satoshi within the Bitcoin network. And so remember that a Satoshi is the smallest unit of Bitcoin out there. It's how the Bitcoin network actually keeps track of how much Bitcoin any one wallet holds. What it also describes is a specific format for storing data on Bitcoin known as inscriptions. And that's where all those JPEGs you know and love are hanging out today. So to start off, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the indexing and tracking, because this is a little more complicated and it takes a second to wrap your head around. But I think once you get it, you'll be like, oh, now I understand why, these specific sats being on these specific UTXOs are really important for me. Starting off, it's very simple. We number the Satoshis sequentially, and we start from 0, and eventually we'll go up to 2.1 quadrillion minus 1, because that's how many Satoshis will ever be in the Bitcoin network. And these SAT numbers are assigned as Bitcoin is introduced to the network through block rewards. So the block rewards are what miners get every time they find a new block. Let's start at the beginning, right? Block 0, Satoshi mines the first block of Bitcoin, he gets a miner reward. How does the Ordinals Protocol think about this and recognizes it? Well, it says, okay, at this point in time, you got 50 Bitcoin if you mine a new block. And so I have 50 Bitcoin. What is the SAT range that's going to be on here? Well, the Ordinals Protocol says we're going to start at 0. So the SAT range is going to go from 0, and it's going to go up to what 50 BTC is, which is 5 billion Satoshis. So we're actually going to go up to 4,999,999,999, because that's 5 billion minus 1, and we're starting at 0. And so very simply, that's how the SAT numbering began, right? So as these get split off, right, the first time, a SAT gets split off here, maybe, SAT 0 gets split off. Someone would love to have that and inscribe on that one day, but fortunately, or unfortunately, all of these are dormant in Satoshi's wallet, so we're not going to see these in circulation. I think block 9 is interesting because these are the first sats in circulation. Jan, here's, pop quiz for you. If block 0 had sat range 0 to 5 billion, what is the range on block 9?
Yeah, it has to start with 45, right? 45 billion.
Yeah, exactly. So the SAT range on block 9 is going to start with 45 billion, and then it's going to go up to 50 billion minus 1, right? So 49 billion, 999, all the nines to end it out. What's interesting about this SAT range is that it has been distributed, broken up, split out over time, but it's been tracked throughout the network by the Ordinals Protocol, and we'll get into how it was tracked in the next section. But it's really cool because if you go back and you look at these collections like OMB or OCM or some Annulicious stuff that's inscribed on block 9, you can go to ordinals.com, you can look it up, and what you'll actually see is those SAT numbers start with 450. And so when people are like, I'm really excited about these 450 sats because they're the oldest sats, well, they're the oldest sats in circulation. And so if you can find something that starts with 45 billion, you have found the oldest sat in circulation. So that's what makes these sats cool. If we kind of zoom out from here, basically what we've just defined is a way that every time a new block comes in, we've defined how we can number the sats that come in through the block reward. And so now from block 0 all the way through the final block that ever emits a block reward, we have a way to define those sat numbers.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's look into an example. Obviously, again, this example is not necessarily a real example, but it's something that really shows the logic behind it. So can you please showcase how do we actually come up with these SAT numbers?
Sats get created, SAT numbers get created when new blocks come into the system, and they get indexed then. But when they're indexed, the Bitcoin network doesn't know the difference between, SAT number 0 and SAT number 20 on Satoshi's first 5 billion sats. When Ordinals actually understands the difference between those is when that range actually gets split up. So what I want to illustrate here, we're going to look at Jan, and Jan here is going to own 2 UTXOs. So both of these are Jans, and one is going to have 3 sats on it, and one is going to have 5 sats. And this first one is going to have sats range 8 through 10, and the second one is going to have sat range 1 through 5. And Jan, being the kind soul that he is, and with his big bags, is going to send me 4 of these, and is going to send the rest back to himself and then pay a fee, as we talked about last time. So what we're going to do now is look at how these sats actually move across the transaction and what this first in, first out actually means. So what that means is we're going to do the exact same thing we did last week when we looked at UTXO building. We're going to take the first input and we're going to say, okay, how big is this first output? And we're going to go over there and we're going to look and we're going to say, okay, first output needs to be 4 sats, and this first input is only 3 sats. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those 3 sats and we're going to move them over there, right? First in and now first out. Now we're going to need to add 1 more sat to this to get me up to the 4 sats Jan is sending me. So we've already spent all of the 3 sat UTXO. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go peel essentially the top sat, which is now going to be sat number 1, off of Jan's second UTXO here, and it's going to get added to the bottom of the first output to me. So now I have an output with 4 sats. It's going to have on it sat range 8 through 10, and it's also going to have sat number 1. Now, for the middle 3 of Jan's here, he's going to say, okay, I want to send those back to myself. And so now he's going to own sat range 2 through 4 in this new output. And then finally, down here, sat number, what is now going to be very clearly number 5, is going to go off to miners for fees. And so this is the first in, first out methodology that's used to track across ordinals.
One important point, this is just an illustration, guys. Obviously, this example wouldn't really occur on chain because of the dust limit that we have, which I believe today is around 500 sats. And so you would not be able to send 3 sats. But again, the principle stays the same. And it's really about the simplification here. Just keep that in mind, guys.
Let's continue this example. Let's say, okay, I want to take my output here, my 4 sat output, and let's say I want to actually send some of that off. So I'm going to send 2 of these, so 2 sats. I'm going to send those to Udi because he charges me to work at Taproot Wizards. And then I'm going to keep 1 for myself, just so I have a little something in the bank. So 1 sat for Tyler. And then finally, I got to get this included in the network. So the final sat's going to a miner. If we do the first in, first out methodology again, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go to sat range 8 through 10, and we're going to hack off the top 2 of those, and then we're going to send those to the first output. So now we've sent 2 sats off to UDI's output. We're going to take the last one in here, which is going to be sat number 10, and that's going to get paid back to me. And then finally, this last one, sat number 1, is going off to miners. And so now miners own sat number 1, I own sat number 10, and UDI owns sat range 8 to 9. And as soon as UDI spins those and splits those up, both of those are going to be well defined in the network as well.
I think it's pretty clear now. Tyler, do you want to add anything else to that, or do you think we're good?
Yeah, so I think hopefully what's clear from this first half of the lesson is that we've essentially covered 2 things. We've covered 1, how to define a number for every sat in the network, right? And then we've also covered how to track those sats as they move about the network. And so now we have this unique identifier that can follow sats around wherever they go. And that leads us to inscriptions where we're actually going to associate data with particular sats.